My first guest, you know, there is never a dull moment around when my next guest is around. Oh, wait a minute. There is never a dull moment when my next guest is around. She is the star of WYNY Radio's Sexually Speaking right here in New York City. Heard every Sunday night. Please welcome sex therapist, Dr. Ruth Westheimer.
Hi, Ruth. How are you? Good to see you.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
How are things going for you?
Very well.
Good. Now, when you've been on this program before, we have questions from the studio audience. We'll get to those in a minute. How long has your radio show been on the air?
Now it has been live since September.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you something, David. I thought that after 2 months that maybe people would have had enough hearing about sex. But it doesn't look like it.
So
it looks as if it's growing. And and it's very rewarding. It's very nice because what's happening is that I myself see a difference since I talked to you last time. Not what they are thinking about.
A difference in what? What do you see a difference in?
A difference in, I used to be rather a little bit tense because I could see those 10 lines lighting up all the time, the phone lines. And I knew that there were like between 250 and 350 phone calls coming in. And in the beginning, I was a little bit naive. I thought that I have to answer all of these phone calls in 1 hour. I have now realized that it's not possible, and I take much more time to answer. And I realize from the reaction that I get about 150 letters a week that this way it's much better because people can really identify with those people that I talk to,
right.
And I don't have to feel so rushed.
Yeah. Now, they always say on a show like this that it's not that the people who call don't necessarily make up your audience. Your audience is much more vast than just the several hundred folks who call.
I heard that the latest ratings, that it was up again, but the exact number I can tell you next time when I see you.
Why can't you tell me now?
Because I don't know it. I don't have it yet.
Just let me give you a little hint. When this topic comes up again, and it will, just make up any figure.
Yes?
Sure, anything you want. That was up 80%?
Oh, I'm sure.
Congratulations. Unbelievable, isn't it? Up 80%. And, congratulations on the success of that show, Ruth. Now, have you noticed any difference in questions from when you went on the air, September to now? What are we in here?
Yeah, now we are July.
July.
One of the things that I have realized is that I'm getting a more variety of questions, and I'm very happy about that. Because, let's face it, only talking about genitalia, only talking about penis and vagina and orgasms, I am much happier when there are some questions about sexual functioning, which I'm sure you will have some there, and when there are some questions about relationships, and about love, and about life in general. I'm particularly pleased with the caller of not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before. That was one of the highlights of my career in the last couple of months. An older woman called. She's a widow. She does feel sexually aroused, and she has never used what is called in sexological language self-gratification, which means masturbation. She never used that before, but I told her to do that. And I understand. And I understand, I even said that I'm a little embarrassed to say that to you here, but I'm not embarrassed when I say it on the radio, so I should say it. I even suggested to her, and the people out there just reminded me of that if she does want to feel something inside her vagina, that it's perfectly all right to either use a cucumber or...
all know Lloyd Dobbins and Linda Ellerby.
On the serious side, on the more serious side, I am very pleased to hear, seriously speaking, that people of different religious and different beliefs do find the program, sexually speaking, enlightening in terms of saying to them, learn what there is to learn. That doesn't mean that you have to use it.
That's right, that's right. And it's a great show for salad hints. Now, we'll be right back with more of Dr. Ruth Westheimer. Thank you, Paul. Welcome back to the show. Dr. Ruth Westheimer is here, and now we have some questions from the studio audience. I'll read these. These are actual questions from our actual audience, and then
will you stay here with me?
I'll be right here with
okay.
you. This is essentially now the way your radio program works for people who do not live in the tri-state area. This comes to us from a female. Why do all those fancy positions work for everyone else but not us? She says. We've tried them all, but always end up in the same old formation. This sounds like a couple they've been together for a while, I would think. Sure.
David, that is a very good question, because sometimes, seriously speaking, sometimes people do get into a rut, which means they sometimes know that a certain way of touching or being touched, a certain position, is going to produce the desired effect. I won't say that word right now, but the desired effect. What I would like to suggest is for a couple like that to say to themselves, it's all right to engage in sexual play and in sexual arousal and in sexual pleasure, even without having to come to sexual satisfaction. Then they could enjoy different positions. Very often, when a couple is used to this one particular position that brings them to orgasm, then they don't really permit themselves to let go. So I would suggest to them that once a week, to decide Wednesday night, no orgasm, and let's just try to feel pleasure. And I bet that this would help. It is just a kind of a rigidity in terms of knowing what produces the desired effect.
This is not a real serious problem, but something that people might encounter.
Right.
Okay. Question number 2. Okay. Is it common to think of sexually provoking things to help achieve climax when making love to someone you care about deeply?
Yes, except if you, for example, and you know that I never ask a personal question, but let's suppose that I talk to a gentleman and he tells me that he always thinks of a movie star while he is making love to his wife. I would say to him, perfectly all right, whatever helps you to feel sexually more aroused and more desirous, but don't tell her. Sometimes this is very serious. Some people think that if a thought crosses their mind that is of another person or of the seashore, or of anything that is not just this particular person that they are with, that they feel unfaithful. And I would like to suggest that that's not so. I would like to suggest that the repertoire of thinking should really encompass anything. A studio audience, a show like yours, it can be anything, but not to hurt the other person.
Sure. Yeah, okay. I think of myself, I'm going to say something silly here, but I have this one recurring thought. I check into a Motel 6 with a lot of game show hosts.
Fine.
How should a girl react to a guy who when he, well, now we have some English problems here, some grammar. How should a girl react to a guy who, when he kisses her, slobbers all over her face? I tried to kiss this guy the way I like to kiss, but he kept on getting my face all wet. I'd recommend a squeegee or a chamois, perhaps. Apparently this guy has a hot ticket, though, because she goes on, other girls have had the same experience with this guy. Should we tell him? This comes from a female who is aged 21.
One interesting point here is, it is true that women we know from statistics and from the sexual literature that women really are more likely to seriously talk to each other about their experiences and their lovers than men. Men do a lot of bragging and a lot of kind of making believe of how, what they do. In this particular case, since this woman does discuss the kissing technique with her friends, I would think that if she really likes that guy, she has an obligation to tell it to him, but in a very tactful and nice way. Not to say, you idiot, you don't know how to kiss. But to say, and not to say it to him in the heat of the sexual encounter, but outside of the sexual encounter, while the both of them watch television, she could say, when you kiss, I do feel very wet and I don't like it. In my face.
Maybe, or maybe just one day surprise him with a rosin bag. Now, I know you have another project you want to mention here quickly. We're nearly out of time, but you have a book that we can look forward to?
Yes, a book is coming out. It's going to be called Dr. Ruth's Guide to Good Sex. You're going to get a copy for free, and it'll be out this spring.
Oh, great.
By Warner Books.
Thank you very much for being here. Dr. Ruth Westheimer. We'll be right back. We have to pause. We'll continue with the show.